What's going on, YouTube? It's the King of Kings. About to drop a quick one real quick. Wasn't gonna make no videos, but I just had to respond. I had to let it be known. I watched Andre Ward do an interview this afternoon, and man, this guy was on point. I think the funny part is Andre Ward might be one of the most underrated minds in this century period. He's a boxer, so naturally think of him as just being a boxer. But the man is so intelligent, man, and he's such a straight dude. You ain't never heard nothing bad about him. They actually look at it as him living a moral life as being arrogant. Ridiculous. But let's get to the crux of this video. Reality of the situation is Andre Ward's absolutely right, man. Triple G has been using black fighters for years to promote himself, even though that coward of a trainer of him says black fighters don't sell. Just to bait Canelo into fighting a sloppier style so GGG can win. It's pathetic. Here's the reality of the situation. So for you guys to say, well, how did he do that? The very notion, when they first said, I'll go from 154 to 168 to fight anyone, it automatically tells because the number one fighter at 168 was Andre Ward. So are you going to fight him? Then the number one fighter that you could have fought at 154 was Floyd moving up, who's a small welterweight, and you used his name as well. But what's so funny is all these years later, you haven't fought no fighters in 168. You're still at 160. And then to make matters worse, you draw up smaller fighters where it's not a skill advantage. You're just bigger than them. That's why they have weight classes in boxing. And that's just a reality situation to begin with. So like I said, he's been tying his name to Mayweather, even though he knew that fight was never going to happen because Mayweather is way too small. That's like, let's see how crazy that sounds. That's like freaking, that's like Adrian Broner calling out Chocolatito or some shit like that, saying, I'll go all the way down and fight you. Now, maybe that's not a good example. This means this a big guy. Okay, that's like Errol Spence. I don't even want to use his name because GGG ain't no fucking Errol Spence. That's like Danny Garcia calling out Rigondeaux. And then expecting to get some respect. But the reason he was doing that, the reason Triple G and his team was doing that was to promote him because he don't got no fan base. He has basically hijacked a Mexican fan base by calling his fighting style Mexican style, when really it's Eastern European style. Stand upright, keep your hands high, don't move your head, throw a jab. That's what that style is. Because in reality, there's no such thing as a Mexican style because Mexican styles are too versatile to say that. Yes, there's some like you got the margarita that just come head forward, take two shots, and keep it moving. But where does Eric Morales fall in that? Because last time I checked, when I see Eric Morales in his prime, he beat Pacquiao by outboxing him. He got in there and mixed it up, but he just was better than Pacquiao and beat him. Now, the other fights afterwards, he just lost because Pacquiao's will just outweighed him. And it just ended, anything that he could do. But, I digress. Marquez, a counter puncher who would mix it up, but he boxed. The Garcia, he boxes. I mean, let's be honest, he's been trained to box that way. You don't see him in no firefights. So this Mexican style thing was just to promote Triple G to a fan base because he didn't have no real fan base. And it worked, that's cool and all that. But don't sit there, Abel Sanchez, and say black fighters don't sell, and then you build your name off the most profitable fighter of all time, who is an African American, a black person, whatever you want to call him, and then you were name dropping them just so that people would pay attention to your fighter. And just to be honest, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. See, I didn't watch. I'm not watching that bullshit ass fight. I'm not watching you fight no 154 pounder on no short notice that's been sitting out for 2 years when you had eligible fighters like Jamal Charlo that were willing to fight you, but you didn't want to do it. Shit. And then what's so hypocritical about it? For years, you were avoiding Arislani Laura trying to say because he was 154 pounds. How convenient is that? How convenient is it for you when you want to fucking duck somebody or you want to fucking cherry pick? All of a sudden, no weight classes matter. And look, I'll give you props for the Danny Jacobs win. That was a very quality win. But after I saw Jacobs this weekend, I see why you did not want to fight Andre Ward. Danny Jacobs is like, I feel like this. If Danny Jacobs and Andre Ward were the same weight, he would destroy Jacobs because Jacobs' chin is wobbly, but on top of that, his defense is terrible. Now, sometimes I think he has lapses, and I seen him fight this weekend. Just, I don't know, wasn't good. But let's get back on Triple G. So Triple G sitting around ducking people, and then his Abel Sanchez, who the only reason we know you is because of Terry Norris, who's an African American fighter, who you had him fighting in a manner that is just terrible to the point that he probably never gonna be right. And on top of that, Abel Sanchez, you haven't built any fire from scratch. Everybody you've had is ready made. Let's think about a fire that got destroyed by somebody telling him to commit to this face forward style. Oh yeah, Robert Guerrero. They used to call him the Ghost for a reason. In the lower weights, he boxed and dominated. Then he moved up. His dad had this inclination of if you don't fight like you're a clown and you do this, then all of a sudden you're not a good fighter. And I seen him get his ass whooped time after time after time to the point that people want to discredit Guerrero, but Guerrero was a good fighter, man. His style switched up and it was terrible. He was on some Timothy Bradley type bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's not entertaining for somebody to concede. Look, here's a real situation, man. A few years ago, I'm a Seahawks fan. They played the Broncos and they blew them out, and everybody's like, "That's boring." Well, that's not the Seahawks' fault. That's the Broncos' fault for that showing up. So for everybody that says Mayweather fights are boring or this fights are boring, that's not their fault because you didn't fucking show up. You know, one of the best fights I seen Mayweather in was against Ricky Hatton. And Ricky Hatton forced Mayweather to fight a way where it just ended up him knocking him out. Now, just because the rest of you sorry bum fighters don't got enough skill to force a dude like that into a brawl, that's on you. Let's take Laura again, you know what I'm saying? Seeing him fight Hurd. I don't think Laura consciously decided to fight that way. I think Hurd's pressure. I mean, the dude was throwing 6-7 uppercuts in a row, and he's just coming, and I think Laura just felt like he had to get him off him at any cost. So he forced the fight. So if Triple G was as good as you say, he got all this amateur pedigree, he would dictate the pace and force a fight the way that he wants it to happen. But he can't. So I don't want to hear this, man. The dude had 2 pay-per-views that didn't even clear 200,000. I mean, what a joke. 200,000. So he henceforth used somebody else's name to promote himself just so that, you know, he could get some notification of who he was. So let's cut this crap out that black people don't sell, because every one of the top pay-per-views has a black person standing on it. Abel Sanchez is an ignorant piece of garbage. And Triple G, you know, I always hear people talking about, oh, it's Triple G fans. It's Abel Sanchez. Triple G been talking, and it clearly is him. He's on board with the duck season. He's going to sit around with Fort Canelo. You're going to what? You know, I keep hearing people talking about, oh, they aged Triple G out. No, Triple G aged himself out. If you can't find the fights, if you can't find the fights at the weight that you're at, and you have somebody like Andre Ward, who's willing to come down to 164 just to meet you, then you take it to be great. He was fine with just being enough. It was all built up to get a check. And in the end, even when you fight Canelo, guess what? You still fighting a guy that was naturally smaller than you for a long time. So it is what it is. And so this whole premise, why does he was training for elite competition. He was training for elite competition. So you could have fought Darienko on short notice. You could have fought Andrade on short notice if you're as good as you were, because you would have already prepared for that style. But you knew full well that style, that somebody can box and punch and move, you can't beat. Because you're a limited fighter, you always was, and regardless of what your little cornbread fans say, that's just how it is, man. So, bottom line, try to keep it clean, but this straight up. Fuck Abel Sanchez, fuck Triple G, and then let's just move on. Canelo might not even fight you in September. I hope he doesn't. I hope he just says, fuck Triple G. He doesn't need you, man. He can make his sales without you, man. He can fight like you need him. And you're trying to cash out. So it's only more matter of time before you have to see Mr. Charlo. And he's going to put your ass to sleep. Yeah, come in there with that Mexican style against Charlo. We'll see what happens to you. This is the King of Kings, calling out Alabama. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that like button. And I'm out. What's going on, YouTube? It's the King of Kings.